you ever notice how truly confident women don't have to shout to be heard? They don't compete for the room's attention. They command it without even trying. And the crazy part, it's not about looks, money, or even talent. It's about one thing, one secret, that changes the way they walk, talk, and handle every situation. And here's the best part, you can start doing it today without changing a single thing about who you are. You ever notice how some people exhaust themselves trying to make everyone understand their every move? They over-explain, over-justify, and over-talk, all because they're afraid someone might take them the wrong way. Confident women don't live like that. They've figured out that the more you try to explain yourself to the wrong person, the less they hear you anyway. And the more you talk just to convince them, the more power you give away. See, when you know your decision is right for you, you don't have to package it in a way that makes everyone happy. You don't have to provide a PowerPoint presentation on why you said no. You don't have to soften the truth so it feels less uncomfortable. They've learned that a clear, simple answer, sometimes as short as, "No, that won't work for me," is more than enough. That's not arrogance. That's boundaries. And boundaries aren't meant to make other people like you. They're meant to make sure you can like yourself. Because when you're constantly bending and twisting yourself into someone else's shape, just to be accepted, you're sending a message to your own mind that your needs come last. And you can't build real confidence if you keep putting yourself at the bottom of the list. The funny thing is, the more you explain, the less believable you sound. It's almost like a defense attorney who won't stop talking. The more they argue, the more you start to wonder if their client is actually guilty. But when someone answers with calm certainty and leaves it there, it makes you pause. It makes you think, they know something I don't. That's the silent power confident women understand. They know you can't be in control of a conversation if you're chasing someone's approval in it. Now, does that mean you should never share your reasons? Of course not. But it means you share them by choice, not out of fear. You speak because you want to, not because you're terrified of how someone might react if you don't. That's a huge difference. One comes from strength. The other comes from insecurity. When you strip away all that extra explaining, you also save yourself from a lot of unnecessary drama. Because the moment you give too many details, the wrong person will pick them apart, twist them, or use them against you. And then you're stuck defending yourself against something that wouldn't even exist if you had just kept it simple. Confident women protect themselves from that. They answer clearly, respectfully, and then they stop talking. And here's the beautiful part, they're not uncomfortable in the silence that follows. Silence used to scare me. It made me feel like I had to fill it, like if I didn't explain more, someone might think less of me. But that's the trap, believing that someone's opinion of you is worth more than your peace. It's not. If they want to assume something about you without knowing the full story, that's on them. Let them. You don't need to open your soul just to correct someone who's already decided what they want to believe. Every time you feel that urge to over-explain, I want you to think about this. You're not responsible for controlling someone else's perception of you. You're responsible for living in a way that's honest to yourself. And the truth is, the right people won't need paragraphs to trust your yes or your no. The wrong people won't trust it even if you give them a novel. Confidence isn't about saying more. It's about saying enough and then having the strength to let the silence do the rest. Here's the thing. Confident women don't just wake up one day and magically have endless energy for everything and everyone. They've learned the hard way that their energy is not an unlimited resource. It's not a free buffet where anyone can just walk in, take a plate, and load up. It's more like currency. You only have so much to spend each day, and once it's gone, it's gone. So you have to be intentional about where it goes. Think about it. If you had only $100 to last you the whole week, you wouldn't just hand it to the first person who asked. You'd pause, You'd decide if that spending lines up with what matters most to you. Confident women do the same with their time, their attention, and their emotional presence. They spend it where it matters. They know the difference between investing and wasting. And here's the secret: they don't feel guilty about it. They don't apologize for not showing up to every event, responding to every message instantly, or being available on demand. They understand that "I can't right now" or "I'm not available for that" doesn't make them selfish, it makes them strategic. You can't pour into the people who truly matter if you're drained from entertaining people who only take. The world will happily eat up every drop of your time if you let it. There will always be another problem to solve, another favor to do, another person who just needs 5 minutes. But confident women have mastered the art of discerning the difference between urgent and important. They don't let the noise of someone else's urgency drown out the voice of their own priorities. That's not to say they don't give generously. They do. In fact, they give deeply, to the right people, in the right moments, for the right reasons. But they've learned to stop pouring buckets of themselves into cups with holes in the bottom. Because no matter how much you give to someone who refuses to grow, refuses to respect your time, or refuses to meet you halfway, you'll end up empty every single time. Protecting your energy means setting clear boundaries about who gets access to you and for how long. It means noticing when certain people leave you feeling lighter and when others leave you feeling like you've been carrying their emotional luggage all day. Confident women notice, and they adjust. They don't wait until they're burned out to make a change. They pay attention early and protect themselves before it gets to that point. The truth is, when you protect your energy, you actually have more to give. You become more present with the people who truly matter. You have more patience for your kids, more love for your partner, more creativity for your work, more peace in your mind. But when you give it away recklessly to every draining situation that comes along, you rob the people you love most of the best version of you. It's not cold, it's not detached, and it's not unkind. It's simply recognizing that your energy fuels your life, and you can't keep running on fumes for the sake of appearances. The people who truly respect you won't resent your boundaries. They'll respect them, because they'll see that those same boundaries are what keep you strong, clear, headed, and able to give from a place of fullness. So when confident women protect their energy, it's not just about saying no to others, it's about saying yes to themselves. Most people don't even realize how often their feelings try to hijack their decisions. Something happens, we get upset, and before we've even taken a breath, we've fired off a message, slammed a door, or made a choice we can't undo. Confident women operate differently. They feel their emotions just like everyone else: anger, frustration, excitement, even fear, but they've learned not to let those emotions make the final call. They separate feelings from facts. It's not that they don't care. They care deeply. But they understand that feelings are temporary, while consequences are permanent. If you've ever said something in the heat of the moment and then regretted it later, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Emotions are like the weather. They can change in an hour, sometimes in a minute. But the decisions you make in those moments, those can last for years. Confident women have mastered the pause. They don't rush to respond just because they're uncomfortable sitting in that emotional wave. They let the wave pass before they decide what to do next. That's not weakness, it's discipline. Because it takes more strength to wait, think, and choose your next move than it does to just react. Separating feelings from facts means being able to say, "I feel angry right now, but that doesn't necessarily mean the situation is unfair," or "I feel hurt, but that doesn't automatically make the other person wrong." It's being able to hold your emotions in one hand and the truth in the other, and know that both can exist without one overpowering the other. The real danger comes when we treat our feelings as if they are facts. That's when misunderstandings happen, relationships break, and opportunities disappear. Just because you feel like someone disrespected you doesn't mean they intended to. Just because you feel like quitting doesn't mean you should. Confident women take a moment to gather more information before deciding which story is actually true. That doesn't mean they suppress their emotions. They still allow themselves to feel, to cry, to vent to someone they trust. But they don't use those emotions as fuel for permanent decisions. They recognize that the truth isn't always visible through the fog of frustration or disappointment, so they wait for the fog to clear before they take the next step. One of the most powerful things you can do is give yourself space between what you feel and what you do about it. Sometimes that space is 10 seconds. Sometimes it's a night's sleep. And in that space, you get perspective. You start to see the bigger picture. You might even realize that your initial reaction would have taken you in a direction you didn't actually want to go. Confident women protect their relationships, their reputation, and their peace by refusing to let emotions make them impulsive. They know that how they respond says more about them than the situation itself. Anyone can lose their cool and fire off the first reaction that comes to mind. But it takes a steady, grounded person to stand in the middle of an emotional storm and choose their words with intention. And here's the truth. Once you learn how to separate feelings from facts, you stop giving your power away to the ups and downs of every situation. You stop being a passenger to your emotions, and you start being the driver. One of the most freeing truths confident women live by is this: they are perfectly fine with being misunderstood. They don't waste time bending over backwards to make sure everyone gets them, approves of them, or sees them exactly the way they want to be seen. They know that no matter how clearly you explain yourself, someone will still hear it wrong, twist it, or decide what they want to believe anyway. And that's okay. The moment you accept that not everyone will understand you, life gets lighter. You stop replaying conversations in your head trying to figure out what you could have said differently. You stop overanalyzing your words to make them fit everyone's expectations. You stop treating other people's confusion as your responsibility to fix. Because here's the thing, if someone really wants to understand you, they'll ask questions, they'll listen, and they'll make the effort. If they don't, nothing you do will change that. Confident women have learned that spending their energy trying to correct every wrong perception is like trying to hold back the tide with a broom. It's exhausting, and it doesn't work. The truth is, some people don't misunderstand you by accident. They misunderstand you on purpose. Because as long as they can keep you defending yourself, they can keep you distracted and doubting yourself. When you're comfortable with being misunderstood, you take back control. You stop playing on someone else's stage, under someone else's spotlight, trying to perform for their approval. You start living according to your values, your priorities, and your truth. Even if it makes people uncomfortable, does that mean it never stings when someone gets you wrong? No, it's human to want to be seen for who you are. But the difference is, confident women don't let that sting control their decisions. They remind themselves, I know who I am. I know my intentions. I don't need a public vote to validate them. And that quiet self-assurance is far more powerful than any loud defense could ever be. The reality is, you can be the kindest, most patient, most genuine person in the room, and still, someone will think you're cold, difficult, or selfish. You can give someone everything you can, and still, they'll find a reason to say it wasn't enough. Confident women don't crumble under that kind of judgment because they know that someone else's opinion is not the final truth about them. Letting people misunderstand you is not about arrogance. It's about peace. It's choosing to let go of the need to control how others see you so you can focus on the life you're actually living. Because you can either spend your time trying to manage everyone's opinion, or you can spend it actually becoming the person you want to be. You can't do both. The people who truly matter, the ones who are meant to be in your life, will make the effort to see the real you. They'll ask, they'll listen, they'll care enough to get it right. And the ones who don't, Well, their misunderstanding is not your burden to carry. And when you finally stop needing everyone to understand you, that's when you become unstoppable. There's a big difference between having expectations and having standards, and confident women know exactly where that line is. Expectations are about what you want other people to do for you. Standards are about what you require in order to be in your life. Expectations put the power in someone else's hands. Standards keep it in yours. When you live with expectations, you set yourself up for disappointment because people don't always think, feel, or act the way you want them to. You can expect someone to treat you with respect, but if they don't, you're left hurt and frustrated, hoping they'll change. Standards are different. Standards say, if you can't treat me with respect, you don't get access to me. That's not about changing them. It's about protecting you. Confident women aren't walking around with a checklist, grading people's every move, but they have a clear sense of what they will and will not allow in their space. They don't lower that bar just because they're lonely, afraid to lose someone, or worried about being judged. They know that lowering their standards might get them short-term company, but it costs them long-term peace. And here's the thing, standards apply to every area of life, not just relationships. It's about how you let people talk to you, how much of your time you give away, the quality of work you're willing to put your name on, the way you take care of your own health. Standards are simply the non-negotiables that keep you aligned with your values. Living by standards takes courage, because not everyone will like them. Some people will push back. Some will try to make you feel like you're too much or too picky. But confident women understand the people who benefit from you having no standards are always the loudest when you start having them. They don't take that noise personally. They see it for what it is, a reaction to boundaries that should have been there all along. The beauty of standards is that they don't require you to argue, explain, or convince. You don't have to announce them or post them online for validation. You simply live by them, and people quickly learn where you stand because your actions speak it louder than any words could. There's also a self-respect element to it. When you hold to your standards, you send a message to yourself that you're worth the effort it takes to protect your well-being. Every time you stick to them, you reinforce the belief that your time, energy, and heart are valuable. And the more you believe that, the less willing you are to settle for anything less than what aligns with who you are. Confident women don't confuse kindness with tolerance. They can be warm, generous, and understanding, but they won't keep making space for people who repeatedly cross lines. They don't stay in places where they have to constantly beg for the bare minimum. They choose to be where their standards are naturally met, not where they're constantly negotiated. And here's the truth. When you stop living by shaky expectations and start living by solid standards, you stop feeling let down by people all the time because you're no longer waiting on them to rise to the level you want. You're deciding who gets close to you based on whether they're already there. That shift changes everything. Confidence isn't something you just put on like a jacket when you walk into a room. It's not a performance, it's not a pose, and it's definitely not something you fake until you make. The kind of confidence that lasts, the kind that can't be shaken by someone's opinion or a bad day, is built in private long before anyone else sees it. Confident women understand this. They don't chase validation in public. They prepare themselves in the quiet moments no one claps for. In those private moments, they're doing the unglamorous work, reading, learning, reflecting, practicing, taking care of themselves, and holding themselves accountable. No audience, no spotlight, no applause, just discipline. It's in that space where they learn what they're capable of, where they work through their insecurities without needing someone else to patch them up. By the time they step into the public eye, they're not scrambling to prove themselves. They're just showing up as the person they've already built. There's a kind of calm that comes from this. When you've put in the work behind the scenes, You don't need to overcompensate in front of people. You're not fishing for compliments to feel good about yourself because you already know your worth. You're not looking around the room for approval because you've already given it to yourself. That's what makes them magnetic. People can feel when someone's confidence isn't propped up by an audience. It's easy to look confident when life is going your way, when you're getting recognition, when you're surrounded by praise. But that's not real confidence. That's just momentum. The real thing shows up when things get quiet, when no one's watching, when there's no instant reward for doing the right thing. That's where confident women win, because they've built habits and mindsets in private that carry them through public challenges. Think of it like training. You don't win the marathon at the starting line. You win it in the months of early mornings, long runs, and discipline that no one else sees. Public moments are just the result of private preparation. And confident women know that if they skip the private work, they can't fake it in public for very long before the cracks start to show. This is also why they're not threatened by someone else's success. When your confidence is built in private, you don't see other people's achievements as competition. You see them as proof of what's possible. You've already built your foundation. No one else's win can shake it. And if someone criticizes you, you don't crumble because your worth was never built on their approval in the first place. It's tempting to think you can skip this step, to think that if you can just act confident in public long enough, you'll eventually feel it inside. But the truth is, pretending drains you. Building fills you. And the filling happens when you're alone, choosing to do what makes you stronger, even when no one's going to notice. So when confident women walk into a room and people feel their presence, it's not because they turned it on like a switch. It's because they've been living it all along.